John, I've had a lot of people saying, "Oh my gosh, Dobbins! Why did they play Dobbins in the third preseason game?" What do you say to those people?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair conversation. We played Lamar, we played Mark, we played the starting offensive line, we played the whole offense for 9 plays, I think it was. But there are other teams that don't play their guys at all. They don't play their starters even one snap. We are probably as close to that as we've ever. I know we're farther down that road than we've ever been. We played our guys so little this offseason. It's just been how we've done it. But anytime a guy gets hurt, you ask yourself those questions. Like any injury, which happened and will happen throughout the course of the NFL and different teams, you just have to approach it and overcome it. It's adversity, and we'll have to deal with it, and we will. We have the players to do it. We have the team to do it. Our guys are excited today again to practice, and I have full confidence in the rest of the running backs that are here to pick up the load and to do a great job for us.
John Harbaugh, Ravens coach, in the aftermath of the injury from Saturday night that ended the season of promising running back J.K. Dobbins, who was great last year, good enough that they didn't need Mark Ingram anymore. It was J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, Lamar Jackson as the rushing attack for the Ravens. Chris, as I was listening to John Harbaugh, I remembered 2019 when the Ravens locked up the 1 seed with 1 game left. Mark Ingram got a calf injury in that game, if you remember that, and that prompted the Ravens to shelve all their starters for the final game of the regular season. They were down for 3 weeks when you factor in the bye. They were flat when they came out for the postseason. You juxtapose that with this idea of we're going to play our starters in these preseason games, and as he said, plenty of teams won't play them at all.
Yeah.
It is a calculated risk you take.
Sure.
And, hey, it's fine unless and until you lose one of your key players for the season. Then it's not fine, but there isn't a damn thing you can do about it at that point.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. But, again, this is football, all right? And I understand there's some teams that don't play their starters. I get it. But I think when you really look at those teams that don't play their starters, it's Seattle where you go, well, the roster is good, but, man, it's really dependent on, 2 or 3 guys. It's the Rams where we've talked about, there's no depth on the football team. It's 22 starters, and if something happens, oh, crap, they're in trouble. But you look at the other teams that are in different areas that feel like we got a little bit more depth and things like that. Come on. Stop it, everybody. Stop it. If Tom Brady at 44 can be out there playing in multiple preseason games, shut the hell up. Really. But it's part of football. You're going to get injured every now and then. And, who's to say he doesn't get injured in week 1 or 2 because he hasn't played enough football and he's not used to getting hit and doing those type of things. We got too many people who have no clue what they're freaking talking about making comments about this stuff sometimes. I know it's different for everybody, but we've seen New Orleans and Sean Payton playing a lot of his starters. We've seen Patrick Mahomes, the best player in football for 3 years straight, played in every preseason game. Please, spare me the bull crap, everybody. Josh Allen, Ben Roethlisberger.
But if they get hurt, and
I
they're
know.
out for the year, you are taking a calculated risk.
You're also taking a calculated risk by not playing, though, and not feeling the game a little bit, too. And then all of a sudden you're in live bullets and you're hurt. There's something to that as well.
Quarterbacks have a higher level of protection than running backs.
Sure.
When you're a running back and you get into that scrum, you get sandwiched like Dobbins did, you run the risk of potentially injuring yourself. Trevor Lawrence put himself in harm's way unnecessarily last Monday night. We criticized him for that. Jimmy Garoppolo put himself in harm's way unnecessarily on Sunday when he went headfirst into a couple of Raiders to try to score a touchdown.
Sure.
And establish himself as the starter. Injuries potentially are going to happen. When they do, that coach is going to bear the brunt of the questions and the criticism, and that's a balance. And look, I don't know if the studies are out there, if the teams that rest their starters, protect their starters in the preseason, if they have a greater rate of injury when we get into the games that count. But anytime you give a guy live reps with live tackling, because there's so little of it now in training camp and so little of it in practice throughout the week, it is glaring when that injury happens. And we had the tweet on the screen. It was actually, and this is awkward for the Ravens.
Yeah.
Taylor Bisciotti, the niece of Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti, who works for NFL Network, tweeted, "I don't understand playing starters in the preseason. I can't make that out. I test failure.
Convince me otherwise.
Can't convince me otherwise." Right. Thank you very much. Liked by J.K. Dobbins. And that tweet was right about the time that Dobbins went down on Saturday against the Washington football team. So, yeah, hey, look, I can understand Dobbins' frustration. If starters hadn't been playing, he wouldn't have been injured. But you're right. We've seen major injuries. Week 1, I remember the game, and I think it was 1997-ish. Week 1, Jerry Rice running an end around.
The Buccaneers.
And Warren Sapp
Right.
grabbing his face mask and tearing his ACL. There you go, Jerry Rice. Week 1 of 95, Rod Woodson. There you go, Rod Woodson. Actually
Brady
came
was
back and
week
played
1.
the Super Bowl that year. That's right. Brady with a low hit from Bernard Pollard, 2008, gone for the season. We're going to have that. And it's more acceptable in the games that count, though, because you're not going to rest your starters in a September regular season game. So, hey, it's football. It happens. It's just harder, I think, for fans to process it when it happens in a game that's meaningless, whether it's Week 17 meaningless or Week 3 of the preseason meaningless.
Yeah, no, I get it. It is. It's harder to digest that. I understand that. I have sympathy there. And listen, you're right. I mean, I'd like to know what the numbers are for the teams that don't play their starters and the injury rate as compared to the teams who do play them early on in the season. I could tell you this, though. I don't need to look up the numbers. The teams that are really good more years than not play a lot of their players in the preseason, and then they hit the ground running in the regular season. And the teams that sit their guys, it's like, oh, there's a few weeks of like, hey, we got to get used to playing real football here. There's something to that. Again, a lot of the great coaches err on playing their players, even though it might be calculated what they do. But I think at the end of the day, especially in this current NFL, where you're not allowed to tackle and hit and have full pad practices nearly to the same extent that you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and not even on the same planet as 20 years ago, that these moments are more important to let's play the game, let's hit, let's tackle, let's bring people to the ground. Let's get used to being in the scrum and how to protect yourself. That wasn't even, what I would say to that play too, it was out on the edge. It was out by the numbers. It wasn't like a total scrum. He had a guy coming from this side, a guy coming from this side. He saw them coming. He lowered his head, and he got himself in a bad spot. He didn't get his leg out of the ground. It's unfortunate. I know he's an awesome player, and I'm really sorry to see it happen. But, John Harbaugh's, you said last week, Hall of Fame coach. I mean, he's kind of a good coach. And he's certainly not a guy that doesn't listen to his players and doesn't have some compassion and sympathy. And like he said, they're playing guys less than they ever have before. But he also knows they're the big bad Ravens, and everybody has got them marked on a calendar. And he knows the Raiders are going to be ready to go against them, and he wanted to get his team ready. He plays in the toughest division in all of football. He can't go, well, we'll just feel it out as the year goes along and see, we'll get in a rhythm. No, he knows he needs to start out strong if he wants to win the division, get in the playoffs, and do those type of things.
The one issue that I will take with the Ravens, and it's not that they were starting and playing their starters in order to get to this point, but the whole 20-game preseason winning streak and the celebration about that. And look, if you have $1 and a 20-game preseason winning streak, you know what you have? You have $1. Because the preseason winning streak means absolutely, positively nothing at all. Nothing. It is just a way to infuse some fake meaning into inherently meaningless games. And if anything, they're going to be more inclined to wrap themselves in this 20-game winning streak because that's a way to maybe feel a little bit better about the fact that you lost your starting running back in the process. Trust me, I'd take 20 straight preseason losses over 20 straight preseason wins if it meant having my starting running back.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.